participating with that. Makes it a lot more enjoyable to me. I don't feel like we just tacked on prayer at the beginning. I feel like we prayed as a corporate group, and I appreciate that. Well, today is lesson 31 of just the book of 1 Samuel. Can you believe we've been in that book for over 6 months, 7 months?
It doesn't feel like it.
It doesn't feel like it. But don't worry, there's 2 Samuel coming. But it ends with some good stuff. Like, I think we're going to read it first, and you're going to say, oh, I see where this is going. But just wait till you see where it takes us. Maybe I studied too hard, but this is some fun stuff. This is going to be good. You'll have to think a little bit later. You ready for that, or is it too late for that? Uh-oh, I'm getting those looks. All right, let's read 1 Samuel 31. Now the Philistines fought against Israel. The Israelites fled before them, and many fell dead on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines were in hot pursuit of Saul and his sons, and they killed his sons, Jonathan, Abinadab, and Melchishua. The fighting grew fierce around Saul, and when the archers overtook him, they wounded him critically. Like, it wasn't like a flesh wound. He knew he wasn't getting out of there, but he wasn't dead. Saul said to his armor bearer, draw your sword and run me through. Do you think that armor bearer ever saw any battle, saw blood, saw people die? I would say probably. And you would think that somebody worthy and strong enough to be carrying the king's armor and follow by his side would have some guts, no pun intended. Sorry. I did not mean it when I said it, but that's bad. He needed a little more guts. Draw your sword and run me through, or these uncircumcised fellows will come and run me through and abuse me. But his armor bearer was terrified and would not do it. I can't. You can almost see him. So Saul took his own sword and fell on it. When the armor bearer saw that Saul was dead, he too fell on his sword and died with him. So Saul and his 3 sons and his armor bearer and all his men died together that same day. That's a prophecy fulfilled, isn't it? When the Israelites along the valley and those across the Jordan saw that the Israelite army had fled and that Saul and his sons had died, they abandoned their towns and fled. So take what you can and run. We've just lost everything. And the Philistines came and occupied them. The next day, when the Philistines came to strip the dead, they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. They cut off his head, stripped off his armor, and they sent messengers throughout the land of the Philistines to proclaim the news in the temple of their idols and among their people. They put his armor in the temple of the Ashtoreths and fastened his body to the wall of Bethshan. When the people of Jabesh Gilead heard what the Philistines had done to Saul, all their valiant men marched through the night to Bethshan. They took down the bodies of Saul and his sons from the wall of Bethshan and went to Jabesh, where they burned them. Then they took their bones and buried them under a tamarisk tree at Jabesh, and they fasted 7 days. All right, so we could make this really short and say, finally, what David has been waiting for has happened. What did David say he was waiting for before he would step up and take king, the role as king? For God to remove Saul either by, who remembers? He said 2 things. Either by death was both of them. But natural death, either God's going to take his life directly or he's going to die in battle. And that's why we talked about last week, why God kept David out of this battle. I don't think David realized that Saul was going to die this time. And so God was doing many things with David by getting David away from this battle and into a battle of his own against the Amalekites for his own family. Great lesson. Go, if you didn't hear it, you'll want to go back and listen to that last week. But in this one, God keeps David out of it. So we could say prophecy fulfilled, Saul's gone, the door is open for David. Let's go home and pray. But there's more in this passage. There's some interesting things. So, first thing that I noticed, it says that Saul's sons died. Do you know who they are? Jonathan, Abinadab, yeah, and the other guy. Sounds like his dad had a cold when he named him. Here's the thing. I did some thinking about that. And the genealogies of Abinadab and Malchishua are not mentioned. We don't know much about them. Even trying to find much about them, we can't. Although I did find this interesting. Abinadab means, my father is noble. Who gave him that name? His father. Yeah, so when he named Abinadab, it's, look how noble I am. Oh, I've got a son now, I'm going to pass. Anyway, Malchishua means, my king is salvation. Now think about that. What should that mean? My king, God, is salvation. What did Saul mean by it? See? You see the pride that Saul has, even in the names. There were some commentators that said, we don't know much about them, but they were bad because they were supportive of Saul. The only time you see them is like when Saul was in battle, they would be there. I have a problem with that commentary. There's several of them that said that, but I have a problem with that thought. Who else was among them? Jonathan. What do we know about Jonathan? He was a righteous man. He was good. And yet he died at the same time as the other two. So was that a punishment against the sons? If it was a punishment against the sons, we've got some talking to do about Jonathan.
It's in the line of the kings.
It's the fact that let this sink in, because it's going to come up a couple times even tonight. But God is doing something to protect the new kingdom, the new king's lineage. But we're not done with it yet. But just lock that thought in. That these were all people that in some way or another could be in line for the throne, and God is removing them. Jonathan also died in this battle. Before we try to ask ourselves why God would allow it, why would God allow Jonathan to die? Why didn't he cut Jonathan a break? Let me ask you, why didn't God cut Jonathan a break? Because he's in line for the king? Yes.
He'd already told David he should have it.
Good answer. But he's already saying, but I don't want it. I already know God's given it to David.
Why didn't he stick with David? I forget.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Before Jonathan and David even showed up, God had prophesied that all of his sons would die, right? Or was,
It was, Jonathan was already a friend of David, but it was when Saul did not completely destroy the Amalekites.
right.
But I think Jonathan already knew David by then. He was already impressed with him by Goliath. But good observation. That's not it.
Was it because that
Nope. All right, I'm going to confess it was a trick question.
But we know,
Don't get mad at me.
we know that.
The reason I tried to make it obvious, but the reason it was a trick question is because the question was, why didn't God cut Jonathan some slack? And the answer is, that's not the issue. God gave Jonathan all the slack he needed. In fact, God did Jonathan a favor. See, we look at it as death must mean God was mad at him. And it's not. Do you think God treated Jonathan in the way that Jonathan deserves as soon as he got up there?
Yeah.
Do you think Jonathan is complaining, oh, why did you bring me up here early?
Death itself is not a punishment.
Thank you. Death can be a reward. We get to thinking, oh, God had him die too. What's wrong? Nothing. God had a plan that he was protecting. That's why I'm not even 100% sure that these boys were as bad as you might think. They might have been. There's some reason to think they could have been steered. We'll get to it in a bit. What?
The only thing I can remember about them is that they went along with taking the spoils from battle when Jonathan didn't go over there.
That's possible. Yeah, that's a good point. But there's just some assumptions there that we could, I think, accurately make, but it doesn't spell it out for us because that's not the point. So my question is, how fair is it to Jonathan? And I would argue completely fair.
Yep.
Completely fair. Why put Jonathan in the position here on the earth to say, no, don't follow me. God made him. What of people that said, no, we're going to defend you because you're the one, and the people that would be supportive of him would be in the way of what God wanted. Now, would Jonathan have continued to be true? I think so. But there are so many reasons beyond what we can know or imagine that God said, no, the fairest thing for Jonathan is to go ahead and take him out of the way right now. But man, he's been good for me. Like, he's going to be rewarded. It only feels unfair. It only feels like God didn't cut him some slack if we have a this world only mentality.
There's a lot of people in Israel that loved Saul and were Beatings.
Yes. I think it would have been
And they didn't want David. Jonathan would have been likely one to.
and there would have been all kinds of struggles.
Maybe God thought it'd be a good, clean start.
Right.
Not saying Jonathan would turn, but we do remember that Saul once prophesied in the name of the Lord. When he first became king, and then he was turned by greed and
Yeah.
not saying that Jonathan would, but wouldn't this maybe be a mercy thing that
See, that's what I'm saying. First of all, I'm going to give Jonathan the credit because Saul never was godly. Even though he prophesied, don't forget, this is Old Testament, before a lot of scripture was written. Think of it this way, because it's going to come up Sunday. I'm doing a sermon, I'm skipping Revelation for a week, and we're going to talk about the star. And the star, originally, the first time it was prophesied was by Balaam. Balaam was a prophet. He spoke on God's behalf. He prophesied even the prophecy of the star, but he was an ungodly man, not a Jew. God chose people and said, I'm going to make my word clear through you, regardless of the vessel. I'm going to use them, And so the fact that Saul prophesied does not mean he was a wholesome prophet of God at any moment.
I think that taking Jonathan out of the equation was a mercy thing.
Absolutely.
for God.
Yeah. And so, but here's the reason I bring it up and make a big deal about it, and then I want to move on because there's some other stuff I want to get to, is it only seems unfair that the good had to die along with the bad if you have a this world only mentality. The minute you have an eternal mindset, an eternal worldview, it will change how you view these types of situations. I don't feel sorry for Jonathan. It's like, man, if God took him out early, he's got a reason for it. He's going to make it worth his while. because it wasn't Jonathan's punishment. You see what I'm saying? I guarantee you that Jonathan has not complained one moment since he died about how God handled it. All right, so then in verses 4 to 6, we have Saul dying. It says, Saul said to his armor bearer, draw your sword and run me through, or these uncircumcised fellows will come and run me through and abuse me. Help me understand that verse.
Look at Samson.
Okay.
What did the Philistines do with him?
Okay, so he was afraid of what they might do to him like they did to Samson. They poked his eyes out and would bring him out from time to time and abuse him. He was afraid of that.
Uncircumcised fellows is true because the Jews were circumcised and everybody else was not. But he's using it here as like a derogatory term.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all those yucky, dirty people.
I don't want to die at the hands of a yucky, uncircumcised person. What do you find odd about those words coming from a man like Saul?
He's esteeming himself like he's so much better than them.
I'm so much better because I'm circumcised and they're not. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
But he's already been rejected by God.
He's rejected by God. He lives like an uncircumcised person. He is less worried about the character of circumcised versus uncircumcised and more interested in the title. Do you understand that? Bring that same principle into 2025. What's it look like?
I go to church.
Yeah.
I'm a
Christian.
Christian.
It's one of the things I heard. We had a couple that we went to church with at Victory in Somerset, and they were from Nepal. And they said that was their hardest thing for them to adjust to coming to America was that in Nepal and India, if you said you were Christian, that meant you had the character of Christ. And so
Yep.
if you had a mechanic and they were a Christian in Nepal,
Then you knew.
you were good. They're like, you come here and that term is thrown around and nobody actually, you don't know who's going to actually have godly character.
Right.
Who-
Christian simply means I believe in God. There's enough evidence for God for me to mentally say I believe He exists. And to them, that's a Christian.
Also, the Jews are very proud of their heritage. They're Jews.
They are, and more today they are. And they had that, Saul even had that, where the pride of I'm the circumcised, but he was living like the uncircumcised. He wasn't living like a Jew, he was living like a Gentile. A Jew who is circumcised, who is a true believing Jew, would he have gone to a witch of Endor to get information? No. Who goes to the witches? The pagans, the uncircumcised. You see, there are people, I see this so often in today's world, Christians who have a form of outward Christianity. If I have the name, if I've been to church when I was younger, but I don't go now, if I can get a preacher in my family to meet at a church and say good things about me when I die and have a Christian burial, I'm good. Here's the problem. Saul was only a Jew, a circumcised person externally, but not internally. He was born an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin, circumcised according to the law on the right day, anointed by Saul from the hand of God. Samuel. Saul was anointed by Samuel from the hand of God to be king, even endowed with the Spirit for kingship, not for salvation. Outwardly circumcised, but Saul had no circumcision of the heart. Now, I want to look at this for a minute because I think this is a principle we need to be careful of today, this whole idea that we're talking about. So I want to look at Romans chapter 2 for a minute. And I don't know if he was, I talked to a guy today, I had to buy something on Marketplace, and we got to talking, nice guy. His name, I think it was Charles. Yeah, Charles. And had a good conversation with him, and he said he might listen to tonight. So I told him if he's listening, I'm going to give him a shout out. So Charles, if you're listening, glad you're on. All right, Romans chapter 2. And verse 28. It says, a person is not a Jew who is one only outwardly, nor is circumcision merely outward and physical. No, a person is a Jew who is one inwardly, and circumcision is circumcision of the heart, by the Spirit, not by the written code. Such a person's praise is not from other people, but from God. Was Saul, according to this definition, a true Jew? No. Because he only was one outwardly. So by this definition, was he circumcised or uncircumcised? Uncircumcised. But if I can put myself above the uncircumcised, look down at them, consider them putrid, then that must mean I'm good. You see what he did? I'm not done. Go to Philippians. Philippians chapter 3 and verse 3. For it is we who are the circumcision, we who serve God by His Spirit, who boast in Christ Jesus, and who put no confidence in the flesh. How does Saul fit into that description?
He put every confidence in the flesh.
All of his confidence was in the flesh. Completely rejected by God. He was not truly a circumcised Jew, though he had physically been circumcised and was a Jew. Is this making sense? We all with me? All right, well, that's New Testament. We're talking New Testament, but how do we know that relates all the way back to Saul? I got a couple reasons. They're there. Some of them are so obvious you might miss it. How do we know that that principle of being circumcised in the heart is not just a New Testament principle from Romans and Philippians? How do we know that that principle carries back into the Old Testament?
The difference between Saul and David.
That's part of it.
God tells him repeatedly, I wanted your heart.
He does that. And the fact he didn't use a New Testament principle, he used the principle from the Old Testament to convince them it's the same in the New. That's what I'm saying, so obvious we miss it. He's using the principle of circumcision from the Old Testament. It comes from an understanding. He's saying, look, even back then, if you were circumcised outside but not inside, it's not good. It doesn't.
Those who were holy before circumcision was even instituted.
Right. There were circumcised of the heart before the word circumcision ever entered the equation. All right. So to kind of go along with that, though, Deuteronomy, I'll just read these for you, save some time. Deuteronomy 10:16. This is Old Testament law. This is Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, the first 5 books of the Bible. It's called the Pentateuch. It's what the Jews, it was their rule book, were these 5 books. And here's what it says in Deuteronomy 10:16. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be no longer stubborn. So the idea goes all the way back that the outwardly was only to prove what should be, there should be a sign on your heart. It should be obvious. Deuteronomy 30, verse 6 says, the Lord your God will circumcise your heart so that you will love the Lord. Did Saul love the Lord? He loved himself, but not the Lord. Was he still stubborn? Yep. So uncircumcised heart. Jeremiah 4:4. Circumcise yourself to the Lord. Remove the foreskin of your heart, so the standard by which Saul falls short is already pre-existing in the Old Testament.
Circumcision was a sign of what should have been inside.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, you shouldn't be circumcised if your heart isn't circumcised.
Yep. It's all external and not internal.
Same thing with baptism for us.
Yes. Yes, baptism is a sign of recognizing Christ's death, burial, and resurrection in your life. It does not save you. You can have the sign without salvation. I've had people, I ask them, when did you get saved? Well, I was baptized such and such. I didn't ask when you got baptized, I asked when you got saved. Well, Brother Vola baptized me. Well, good, I love Brother Vola. He's a godly man. He doesn't save you. You see what I'm saying? There are so many people that have a misunderstanding. They lock it into some tradition. By the way, that's not Vola's fault. I just want to make that clear. I'm not speaking against Vola. I'm just using him because everybody knows who he is. Well, most of you do. He's the one that started this church and doing a great job. It is though Saul thought if he could avoid the appearance of being uncircumcised, if he could consider and get everybody to consider himself above the uncircumcised. Oh, I don't want to die at the hands of an uncircumcised guy. I want to die at my own hands. How would you answer him? That is dying at the hand of an uncircumcised guy. Right?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. I want to talk about Saul's armor bearer. And this is just real quick. Describe in just one word definitions Saul's armor bearer. Terrified. Cowardly. Wimpy. I would. Full of fear. I want to just take a moment to compare that to Jonathan's armor bearer.
That guy was awesome.
He was, wasn't he? I wish he was like 26 and here.
I'm 28, but 26 would be fine.
You go after the young ones. Are you that old already? Oh, man. I wish he was 31 and... Hey, it's a father thing. We're allowed to forget dates.
How would you like
Listen,
How would you like to have been Saul's armor bearer?
I would hate to be Saul's armor bearer. But then again, Jonathan's armor bearer, hey, the two of us, let's go up and fight that Philistine garrison. You know. Oh, yeah, you don't remember that? Oh, yeah, it was, Jonathan, it's like Saul was the king and he's in their drawn up battles, but nobody's going out to fight. Jonathan takes his armor bearer and says, let's go take on a whole regiment of Philistines. So they sneak out there and they look up and they go, oh, they're up there. And the soldiers up there are looking down there and they go, look down there, there's a couple Israelites. And Jonathan says, if God's going to give them into our hands, they're going to say one thing. If God doesn't want us to go up and fight them, they're going to say something else. And the armor bearer's like, I'm with you. Let's do it, whatever. And so it's just like that movie, The Princess Bride.
Everything can be related back.
It's a great movie. It should be. Because he's got to climb the mountain on that rope, and at the top of the cliffs of despair, they're waiting to kill him. And it's like, well, it's hardly fair. I'm going to be tired of climbing the rope. He said, no, I'll give you fair. Never mind. Imagine Jonathan and his armor bearer. They got to climb up while the army's waiting at the top of the cliff, and them saying, no, we'll wait till you get up here before we kill you. And Jonathan's armor bearer's like, come on, Jonathan, let's go. Let's go do this. And they go up there and they beat 20 men and start the battle winning for Israel. I mean, Jonathan's armor bearer versus Saul's armor bearer.
Yeah, but Jonathan's armor bearer knew that he could trust not only Jonathan, but God,
There you go.
because he knew that God was with Jonathan.
And it's all about leadership. It's all about your character. It's all about how you mentor. It's bold. It's faithful. It's courageous. That's Jonathan's armor bearer. What was Jonathan? Bold, faithful, courageous.
But Saul's armor bearer watched Saul have an evil spirit come into him, try to kill David. I
He's
mean,
weak. He's terrified. He's
there's no-
tossed. He has no...
But there's no security.
Exactly.
In being his armor bearer, because you don't know if in the middle of the night he's going to put his spear through you.
Yeah, because he tried to kill Jonathan, his own son. Anybody that was winning for him, he tried to get rid of him because I'm the noble king. Salvation is in me, as he named his sons.
Well, I wouldn't want to be his armor bearer.
I wouldn't either. Jonathan inspired courage. Saul inspired fear. Now, reason I bring that up, none of us are going to battle, but who you are affects those around you. What do you inspire in the people around you? Do you let them inspire you and you follow, or do you inspire others to be bold, courageous, to be worshipers, to be faithful? What do you inspire? Let's look at the victor's actions for a minute. And what time is it? I got a few minutes. Good. We're doing good. I want to look at the victor's actions. Who are the victors?
Philistines.
The Philistines. The bad guys win for now. And that's in verses 7 to 10. When the Israelites along the valley and those across the Jordan saw that the Israelite army had fled and that Saul and his sons had died, they abandoned their towns and fled. And you know, they gave up, but rightfully so. It had already been demonstrated God was giving the victory to the enemy because Israel was far from God. So watch this though. I don't want you to miss what's happening here. The next day the Philistines came to strip the dead, and when they found Saul and his 3 sons had fallen on Mount Gilboa, they cut off his head and stripped off his armor, and they sent messengers, here it is, throughout the land of the Philistines to proclaim the news where? In the temple of their idols. Let that sink in. Understand that whenever Israel won, who gave them the victory? God did. And God wanted that attention properly for the victory he gave them. And when they would not properly give God the victory and try to take it on themselves, God would be very displeased with them for their pride and not recognize his goodness to them. Y'all understand that? Satan loves to mimic God, take God's ideas, and so you have these lowercase g gods. What are gods to the Philistines? What are they really?
Demons.
They're demons. They're not gods. They're demons. Do they want to be worshipped? Yes, they do. And they want whatever God is supposed to get. You notice how Israel, when they won a battle, it seemed it was hard for them to go give God credit. But what do when their gods give them the win? That's how they perceived it. Now, did their gods give them the win? No. God, big G, God, allowed them to win because he was doing something. But they run back and give their gods credit. Something Israel was bad at doing when they have the God who deserves credit. So they would run back to their demons and say, thank you for this victory. Keep this in mind. This was not simply an earthly battle. It is not even simply a battle between Saul and David. It's not just God orchestrating the situation for David to become king and to remove Saul. It is a spiritual battle going on at the same time. And in this moment, these demons think, we got this one. God is so far ahead of them. They have no power and they think they've got it all. But when I saw that, they went back, and what did they do with the destruction of Saul, claiming to be circumcised, is they went back and they honored and worshiped pagan entities, deities, demons.
Even putting his armor in the temple.
See, our God defeats they're saying our gods defeat the armor of the king over Jehovah's people. God allowed it. They took pride in it, but more is coming.
I look at where it says, and among their people.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been including Ziklag,
Yep.
where David was.
Well, all of Ziklag was burned, but
Well, but they.
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
They returned there with all their stuff and more. Even enough to share in the battle of, to other Israelites that were suffering from battle.
So I'm just visualizing in my mind David hearing the news as they're worshiping their idols, and what that would have felt like to him.
Yeah. We'll start into that next week when we start looking at David after the death of Saul. That'll be interesting.
And I when you look at, David cut off Goliath's head, and then
And now they cut off Saul's head. Yep. It's like we have paid it back.
yeah.
So they think. Now, this is an interesting thing. I had to do some digging on this, and the longer I dug, the more I liked this. These last few verses. When the people of Jabesh Gilead heard what the Philistines has done to Saul, all their valiant men marched through the night to Bethshan. They took down the bodies of Saul. How dangerous was that? To sneak into the temples. And they got Saul's body and his son's bodies.
must have been like after a raging party, because they were all.
Yeah, they're all drunk and like we've won.
Well, actually, the bodies were fastened to the walls. I'm assuming that that's the outside walls.
Could be. But here's some fun that I've got 10 minutes left. I want to share this with you. Some stuff I dug into. First of all, why did they hang them on the walls and out in the public eye underneath their gods? Trophies. It's not just to bring honor to their gods, but it was to bring shame on Israel. Okay, now keep this in mind and follow me here. See if
It's also to intimidate any other enemies.
true it is to do that, to say this is what we do to our enemies. But I want you to just think about the fact that, all right, let's go back to chapter 11.
Yeah.
You knew I was going to go there, didn't you? All right. Jabesh, isn't that the city that's rescuing Saul's body?
Yeah.
Okay. Look at 11 verse 1. 1 Samuel 11:1. Nahash the Ammonite went up and besieged Jabesh Gilead. And all the men of Jabesh said to him, make a treaty with us, and we will be subject to you. But Nahash the Ammonite replied, I will make a treaty with you only on the condition that I gouge out the right eye of every one of you, and so bring disgrace where? On Israel.
All Israel.
See, the Philistines are like, yeah, we'll let you be slaves, but we're willing to have you be lesser slaves, working with only one eye.
It's Ammonites, not Philistines.
Ammonites. Yeah, the Ammonites said, we're going to do this to you, but we want to bring shame on Israel. And they were scared. Now, this is at a time in the history of Israel, go back to chapter 11 here. Saul has just been crowned king, but he doesn't know what he's doing yet. So guess what Saul's doing at the time that Jabesh is getting attacked? He's plowing his field, planning for the next harvest. A real king gets somebody else to do that for him, but he doesn't know yet, right? This is first movement of Saul. And so what happens? Look at verse 3. The elders of Jabesh said to him, give us 7 days so we can send messengers throughout Israel. If no one comes to rescue us, we will surrender to you. Now I would think, if I'm the enemy king, I'm not letting anybody come and help you. But they were so scattered, and the Ammonites were so proud, yeah, bring them all on. We'll take them all out right now.
It's interesting too, that was for 7 days it says, and over here in our chapter now, it says
They
7
fasted.
days they fasted after they.
It would not surprise me if during these 7 days they were fasting too. I'm not saying that, but definitely there's a correlation between these 7 days and the 7 days that they fasted at the end of chapter 31. But keep going. I want you to see this. When the messengers came to Gibeah of Saul and reported the terms to the people, they all wept aloud. Just then, Saul was returning from the fields behind his oxen. And he asked, hey, what's wrong with everybody? Why are you weeping? Then they repeated to him what the men of Jabesh said. When Saul heard this, the Spirit of God came powerfully upon him. So this is before he was rejected by God. His first act, and God was allowing it to come up to establish him as king if he would let him. And he burned with anger. He took a pair of oxen, cut them into pieces, and sent the pieces and messages throughout Israel, proclaiming, this is what will be done to the oxen of anyone who does not follow Saul and Samuel. Do you see a hint of where he's going wrong already?
Saul and Samuel.
It should have been God, Samuel, and Saul, you know. But here's the point. Does he go and fight for Jabesh Gilead? Does he keep Jabesh Gilead from shame? Yes.
Yes. Yeah. They did get their eye.
No, they didn't. They were going to.
I think, are you sure?
Yes.
When we had the lesson last time, I thought you said they did.
No, they were going to. They didn't lose their eyes. This is, I'll give us 7 days, and if we'll surrender to you and let you take out our eyes. There's a different battle where that happened. I know what you're thinking of. But, huh? Yeah, let's just keep. But anyway, did Saul win the battle and keep Jabesh Gilead from shame?
Yes.
Yes. So now Jabesh Gilead wants to return the favor to Saul's body. Are you tracking? All right, maybe this will help. 2 Samuel, chapter 2, little sneak peek of some stuff that's going to come later. This is, I'm going to bring the principle out here in a moment, but let me read it from here first. 2 Samuel 2, chapter 2, verse 4. Then the men of Judah came to Hebron, where they anointed David king over the tribe of Judah. All right, so after Saul's death, this is now 2 Samuel. David is starting to be made king. It starts in one place and then it spreads. You with me? You understand where we're going to be at this time? When David was told that it was the men from Jabesh Gilead who had buried Saul, he sent messengers to them to say to them, The Lord bless you for showing this kindness to Saul, your master, by burying him. May the Lord now show you kindness and faithfulness, and I too will show you the same favor because you have done this. Now then, be strong and brave, for Saul your master is dead, and the people of Judah have anointed me king over them. Are you seeing what's happening? Jabesh Gilead lost a king that they respected. At least, maybe respected is the wrong word. They were grateful to. Even if Saul has done his wrong things, and Jabesh Gilead will follow David now, but let me put the principle out there as clearly as I can, and then we'll talk about it for a minute. For 1 minute. Can you honor somebody for their position and even for some things they do right without honoring everything that person does? You see, not only did Jabesh Gilead say, hey, not everything Saul did was great, but we owe him. Even though he's gone, he kept us from shame. We're going to keep his family from shame. Are they fully agreeing with everything Saul ever did? No. But they're saying we can honor him for what he did that was right. And I think that is a principle that is hard for us today. We see it in marriages. We see it between parents and children, both young children and parents and adult children and parents, where honor is expected and commanded by God, but we look at that person and say, but they don't deserve the honor and respect I wish I could give them. Anybody know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
We had this conversation.
I wasn't going to say that, but we have. It's very common. Or between a husband and a wife. I'm supposed to honor my husband as a leader, but he, and then fill in the blank. Like, we all get it, right? Yet there is a point where we stand on the truth, we declare what is real, but we still honor. David completely disagreed with everything Saul was doing, but he said, but I honor him for the fact God put him in that position. It's not for me to change that. God put him there, God can remove him. And he showed honor and respect, called him his master, didn't hurt him, did things to protect him and support him when his men would have gladly killed Saul and could have. David said, no. I need to honor him. Did Saul deserve it? No. But it's not about the person. It's about the character of the one doing the honoring. And here's David. Now Saul's gone. And David knows that Saul is gone by the hand of God, not by his hand. David does nothing at all to say, now I need to really wipe he was so bad, I'm going to shove him under the rug and let everybody know I'm king. He goes to the ones who rescued Saul's bodies and said, hey, I know you're doing that in support of him. I want you to know I agree with that. You did the right thing. It shows me that David had that same heart and confirmed the principle that, because maybe even Jabesh Gilead didn't understand all that Saul did wrong, but David did. And yet he confirmed that principle. Look at 2 Samuel 21. Going way to the end now. If we're into chapter 21, are we forward a little bit in the story? Yeah. in verse 1, I'm going to read this pretty quick for you because I want to get to verse 14 because it's all related. During the reign of David, there was a famine for I'm going to skip some, for 3 successive years. So David sought the face of the Lord, and the Lord said, "It is on account of Saul and his blood-stained house. It is because he put the Gibeonites to death." So he says, look, I've given you the famine. And David's like, why? Well, it's because something Saul did. David's like, I'm dealing with the famine that Saul caused. Well, yes. What would we do?
Not fair.
That's not fair. Why do I have to? No. What's he do? Oh, I'm sorry. What did Saul do we need to make up? Well, he mistreated the Gibeonites. So, oh, okay. Well, what can we do? We'll go talk to the Gibeonites and find out. So David does. Look at verse 4. The Gibeonites answered him, "We have no right to demand silver or gold from Saul or his family, nor do we have the right to put anyone in Israel to death." Like, we have no authority over any of this. You're the king. He said, "What do you want me to do for you?" David asked. They answered the king, "As far as the man who destroyed us and plotted against us, so that we have been decimated and have no place anywhere in Israel, let 7 of his male descendants be given to us to be killed and their bodies exposed before the Lord at Gibeah of Saul." You understand what's happening? They're saying, give us 7 of Saul's descendants to do to them what Saul's family did to us. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. This is how far into David's reign? I don't know exactly, but quite a ways. And where is Saul's family? They're still there. How many other kings would have wiped out the whole lineage? Most of them would have. But here we are, David's king, and Saul, his family's still around. And it takes, God initiated this because he is trying to protect David's throne where David didn't see the need because it's God's job. And so God brings a famine so that David would ask God. And God says, go talk to the Gibeonites. They'll explain it. And the Gibeonites are the ones that will give us Saul's descendants. So the king said, I will give them to you. And the king spared Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan. Remember that was promised. The son of Saul, I'm in verse 7, because of the oath before the Lord between David and Jonathan, son of Saul. But the king took Armoni and Mephibosheth, the 2 sons of Ahai's daughter Mizpah, it's a different Mephibosheth, grandson, whom he had borne to Saul, together with the 5 sons of Saul's daughter Merab, whom she had borne to Adriel, son of Barzillai, and blah, 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 and handed him over and had him killed. Here's my point. Even up to this point, David honored and respected the family of Saul because it was the family of the anointed. And he left all the care of what happens to them in God's hands. And did God take care of it? Yeah, because David didn't have to. We think we can change people by removing the honor due them. And really, we're stepping between them and God saying, hit me first. When we do what's right and we give the honor that is due, we step out of the way and let God do the work. I can tell you what, God's better at dealing with situations than we are. That's why God had to get David out of the way.
I have testimony of that happened this week. There's this woman that I've been counseling. She's not anywhere around here. And about her marriage.
Mm-hmm.
She called me with a question of, she's reading scripture and it says that she has to respect her husband. So she asked me, well, what does that mean? I have to respect him. And he's verbally, emotionally abusive.
Yep.
According to her.
Which is wrong to do that. Yep.
And so I said, explain to her that respect has to do with position and authority. It has nothing to do with his behavior.
Mm-hmm. That's hard for us to understand.
And she was like, well, that's not what I expected you to say. And I said, well, And so we talked some more, and I told her she had some work to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so she called me back about an hour later, sobbing in repentance,
Wow.
saying, I have been rebellious and full of pride.
Yep. Making it hard for God to work on that husband.
And
Yeah.
so that's what we discussed, that as she respects her husband,
That's how God can win him over. So yeah, lots to learn. I'm 8 minutes over, but I just,
Michael,
no, that's all.
It's not your fault, Kathy.
I'll go with that. It's Kathy's fault. Not mine.
That's all Kathy's fault.
Yeah. I will say this, there was, we're going to get to it, but there was one more son of Saul, and Ishbosheth, also called Ishbaal. He's named after Baals, and it just shows you where the house of Saul was at, and that story is going to come up later as we get through 2 Samuel. All right, y'all are dismissed. We'll just be done with that.